This is a DV tape, and in 97, 98, this was high tech. One of my first movies that I also edited, not like just recorded, but actually edited, I edited on a tape like this. You had to copy the material from one tape to the other tape. So if you would want to collaborate during this process, you actually need to sit together. Since I work with collaboration tools almost every day and help companies to implement these, we also applied collaboration tools to our movie production process. Because sometimes it's not only me editing the movie and publishing the movie, which is then quite straightforward. You need to find a system that makes it easy to communicate and collaborate with ideas and the editing and the spreading. For simplicity reasons, let's split the filmmaking process into the pre-production phase, where you like sketch the idea, sketch the thoughts, the scenes, what you want to shoot later on. The production phase, the shooting, organizing the material on set and all that stuff. And then the post-production phase. So everything that you need for like editing, fine-tuning, color grading, storing, backup, and all that stuff. The pre-production phase, where you have the idea and outline what you want to shoot later, I learned is the most important phase of the whole process, especially if you work in a team. The tools I use in that phase is my idea book, which is like a large writing book where I try to paint in it. I'm not a great artist, but I try to like sketch the scenes that I want to have, because from actually painting them, I become more creative in, okay, how could you evolve the scene? What else could you do with it? And so on. From that, I usually develop the idea of a screenplay. And I just learned about what a screenplay is. In Hollywood, there is a standard where you like write how the scene looks like who's in the scene, who enters the scene, what happens in the scene, what people say in the scene, is it inside, is it outside, what's the transition, and so on. It sounds like a lot of work, but if you want to share something valuable and educate in a certain way, it really helps to sketch it, because the rule of thumb in Hollywood is that one page in that format is roughly 1 minute of footage later on in your video. So a 7-minute page is like a 7-minute long video, roughly. Investing in these two steps at first is very, very helpful to like speed up the rest of the process. And I write the screenplay usually on Google Docs, because we can collaborate on that tool. I don't need to send out a Word file that people then comment. A Google Doc I can open on almost any device out there. And whenever there's a comment, the cool thing is in that document, everyone who's involved in that process can comment and I can read it. And if they answer, like I can tag them in the comment, and if they then reply to the email is then attached to the document. So I can actually work and rework the script in here, or the screenplay in here. That makes it very efficient. Throughout the whole process we communicate a lot, but we would never give hard feedback, like type the feedback into a WhatsApp group, for example, or a Slack group. We would always share the link to that document. And then in the pre-production, what we also do is, after like sketching the idea, having the idea, discussing the idea, and the feedback that we think that makes sense, we then use Trello, which is like a project management tool, but very simple, where you can skip through like what are the tasks, and one card is one video idea. And on that video idea, you can attach the screenplay, for example, or certain tasks. I will come to that later as well. And then the second step, the production phase. If you have more than one person and more than one camera, sharing the material. So sometimes I film with my camera guy MP, he's recording me on stage or behind the scenes, and then he's maybe making also the raw draft, because he has shot the footage and says, this is what I've seen, this looks nice. But I do the final edit, because I love editing and it kind of gives the flavor to the movie that I would want to have. Then we need to share that project file and the files as well. Since the files are so big, the most important thing on set is actually hard drive. We sit together, have a coffee, have water, whatever, and then share the material on hard drives. We use the same file structure. I copy my folder and give it to him and says like, please use exactly that same structure like I use that. And then we know where the footage is actually. And this is not only the raw footage, this is like footage from the GH5, footage maybe from the Sony, footage from the Canon, and so on and so on. And we are able to share just the project file, where we also have the same structure. So he can make the raw draft, send me the project file. And the great thing is with Premiere Pro, it's quite easy to then link the file to the footage. There is enough stuff out there on YouTube that shows how that works. If we shoot on different locations like we did in March with Casey Neistat behind the scenes and Gary Vaynerchuk on interviews, and then also record stuff within our office here in Hamburg, and then at the river in Hamburg, like at the Elbphilharmonie. So we had like 3 locations, 3 teams where we need to organize the footage and then see who is doing what. We, of course, use a WhatsApp group, like most likely many film crews do as well, where we can easily communicate very, very fast. What we would never do is, as I said, copy the hard feedback into that group and discuss stuff within that group. We use that to organize the people and to share the ideas on set to be very, very fast. Then comes the post-production, which is then the key phase for using Trello, for example. On Trello we have a checklist what needs to happen afterwards, like is the material backed up on a server? Is the material backed up on the cloud drive? All the footage collected? Do you have the description? The subtitles? Are there any typos left in the subtitles? And so on. So we have a whole checklist of stuff that you need to do in Trello that you can check off. And I can see in the activity feed that this task is done. So Trello is a very important tool within that phase. But more important, during the editing actually, which I count to the post-production, is once you have a raw edit, you want to give feedback within your team and say, okay, I would change this, let's do that, what do you think about that? There's a tool called Frame.io, which is similar to the Screenplay Google Docs style tool that we used in the beginning, but Frame.io is for commenting on movies in the browser and with a plugin that connects it to Premiere Pro. So you see directly in Premiere Pro a window for Frame.io, and you can upload from Premiere Pro to Frame.io, and then if people comment, you can sync that and you see the comments in your timeline below, which is very, very convenient for feedback because you see exactly where people gave the feedback. It's much more efficient than sending an email and say like, hey, at minute 135, you should change the color. Oh, there is a transition error, and so on. You're very fast in giving their feedback because once you start typing, the video stops, you start typing, you press enter, then the video continues, then you type, the video stops, and so on. Very, very, very efficient in order to be able to lead where the video is spread and how we spread it. We organize that with a checklist via Trello and the comments within the Trello board. If we need to push anything, then using the groups. Don't forget to back up your final edits somewhere else than just YouTube. I know there are YouTubers out there who just upload it to YouTube and then delete all the footage and all the stuff they had. Don't do that. Keep an additional backup. That's my experience from here to here when it comes to film production and collaboration at the same time. Please let me know what you think about that. Leave a comment, and thanks for watching. I see you next week.